Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Radio Wasteland. I'm your host, Chauncey Haworth, and this is my co-host, Sean.
Hello.
Sean, I just had a disturbing realization.
What's that?
Well, I'm moving this mic back and forth to my face, right? And, it's a radio mic, because we're radio guys.
Sure.
And I push it away with my face a little bit. And then I have the realization that talk radio is kind of notorious for yelling pundits, and I imagine that there's a lot of spittle coming from these yelling pundits, and I'm starting to wonder when the last time this pop filter was cleaned that I just pushed with my face.
I could have lived my whole life without anyone broaching that line of thought to me.
Well, there's something
I don't know
a little
if
neurotic about me.
offers, like, free vaccinations.
Well, I'm not coming down on the station. I'm sure this is the case all over the place.
It's the nature of the medium.
I mean, we do have ourselves a very nice little room here. Our engineer looks like he might have just climbed out of the shower. He's got just about the bluest shirt I've ever seen. So he did his laundry.
Well, the things we do to bring the radio to...
Right.
You, the listening masses.
Right, totally. We want to have the sights and the smells of the pop filter for you.
That's not what I meant.
All right, so tonight we have an interesting show. I'm always excited when, if you haven't noticed, I like to kind of poke a little in order to...
I have noticed. Every time it says the views and opinions of hosts, guests, and whatever on KCNR... I'm just like, yeah, you'd better say that.
Yeah.
Because we're going to say some stuff.
Yeah, I definitely like to poke, and normally it's on a political level. I like to poke the left a little bit. I like to poke the right a little bit,
Sure. I've gotten your Facebook posts.
But tonight, we have one of those rare topics that's controversial enough on its own where I really don't need to do any poking.
Yeah.
So our last controversial topic where I felt this way was, killing Bigfoot.
Right.
Tonight, our topic is Flat Earth.
I think that's significantly more controversial, frankly.
Yeah, you think so?
Well, most people don't believe in Bigfoot, and so they don't probably have a strong opinion about whether it lives or dies.
I see. So this one has strong opinions on both sides.
Yeah, well, I think, we learn about, like, Galileo and Copernicus in school. And, everyone knows, at least... enough to know that the world is round. Maybe.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it round, Sean?
On this show, for this moment in time, that will be treated as a controversial statement, I suppose.
It might not be. So I'm curious as to how many people out there really are flat earthers. I guess they have a name for believers in the flat earth theory.
Well, I'm peripherally... And so are you, actually, related to... It's like the Kevin Bacon thing, how many degrees of separation before you hit a flat earther, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
how many degrees away from a flat earther are you?
Exactly. Well, we both know someone who knows a flat earther.
Really?
Yes.
Who?
Jake from...
Jake's a flat earther?
No, Jake's not a flat earther.
Oh,
but
I was going to be shocked.
He has a flat earther friend.
Okay. I was going to be shocked because Jake was in the military. He's traveled all around the
No,
world.
Jake isn't a flat earther. But the point is, we're only 2 degrees away, right?
I see, yeah.
So, I would guess they're numerous. I would guess most of them live in Reading.
Is that what you'd guess? What the heck? All right. Let me check my foul language. What the heck kind of comment is that?
Well...
You want to be able to walk out this door and walk to your car safely, don't you?
As you know, I spent a year in the library writing a book. And so
now you think you're better than the rest of us. You spent a year in the library, and now you think you're better than us.
No, that's not the point. I mean, I've interacted extensively with the kind of people who frequent the library. And,
I see.
And I've had many books recommended to me by perfect strangers, about the alien menace and how they are trying to enslave people from, inside their person suits in the government. Mm-hmm. So my point is that it's not that far-fetched in this particular community.
I see. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I had a friend online, a friend I made from our Nibiru show. Mm-hmm. Not Samuel Hoffman, but another friend from the group.
Sure.
And they were saying, that they were all about believing this, and I didn't really have a chance to ask them about how does a flat Earth and Nibiru both coexist.
Wait, really? Okay, so they believe in both of these.
Well, that was my impression. I didn't really get a chance to dig in on that one.
Well, Huh.
Yeah, so, that's one of my big...
Yeah, that stops me in my tracks.
Well, that's one of my big flat Earth questions, is if the Earth is flat, are all the other planets and the moon round? I mean, spherical,
Yeah.
And if so, what's up with that?
There are so many things we could ask about
well, we're going
on
to.
this show. Yeah. And we're really going to have to. I'm sure an hour won't be enough for us to ask every question that we have.
And I want to make it clear to the audience that this is not a debate. I'm not looking to debate with this guest. I really know very little about this topic. A lot of my interest comes in UFOs and other planets and so on and so forth. So I'm kind of a fan of the space that we know today. So I really know next to nothing about this.
Well, I think like you, I'm just curious to see what they have to say.
Very much so, yeah. That's my...
most every guest we've had on the show has been extremely reasonable and thought through their positions, unorthodox as they are.
Yeah, even the ones that have just been insanely out there ended up being incredibly just kind of articulate, regular conversations.
And clearly had, considered the details of everything. So.
Right, they weren't pulling it out of their hindquarters. They actually had a dogma behind this thing.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that's going to be the case here. And
I think so too. I caught a little bit about our guest, Lori Frary, Frary. Like
Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie, yeah. Lori Frary. I did enough research on her to know that she is a credible, articulate, ready to talk about this topic person. But I made it a point not to dig too much into the topic because seeing how I knew so little about it, I thought,
well, that's what we're
let's just go in blind.
Yeah.
Let's just go in blind.
Yeah.
So, this is it. I don't know.
We are standing on the precipice.
Standing on the precipice of learning about the flat Earth, which I don't know. I can't say enough. I guess let's just say coming up next is our guest, Lori Frary. Said it right. And you are listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back.
Gonna put my face on a nuclear bomb.
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. You like that? All right. And our guest, Lori Frary. Am I saying that correct, Lori?
You got it right.
All right. We were just talking during the break about how many different types of last names there must be, because the past 6 shows in a row or something, they've all been last names that I've just never seen before, and I've been having to do my best to pronounce them.
Well, they used to call me Frary Dog when I was in school because it rhymed with prairie dog.
Well,
so
that's cute.
There you go.
At least you got a cute nickname,
Yeah.
It could have been worse. As far as nicknames with the word dog attached to them, that's about the cutest there is.
Well, I was always okay with it because I'm kind of a junkyard dog, so it's okay.
All right, so I don't know if you caught the beginning of the show, but we were basically talking about how this was a topic that we're really excited to cover because we know so little about it. So our usual opening question is, how did you get started with learning about flat Earth theory?
Well, I am probably as much like most other flat earthers, and that is how most people get started looking into flat Earth is they hear about it from someone else or saw something on YouTube or something that said the Earth was flat, and you went, what? Wait, what? And so you set out to debunk it. Usually you hear about it 2 or 3 times, and you just, out of mind, forget about it, and then you talk to a couple people, and they say a couple of compelling things, and you say, I'm really going to have to look into this more. So you start doing things like, well, if we live on a globe, shouldn't we be able to measure some curvature? And if we're spinning, shouldn't we be able to feel that or observe something that has to do with spinning? So you go look into past experiments that people have done that says the Earth is not spinning, it's completely stationary, and you run into things like the Michelson-Morley experiment or Airy's failure, and you'll learn about all of those.
Let me cut you off there. This is all
but
very new to us, so what is the Michael-Morley experiment?
Well, there's different experiments that people have done to test if the actual Earth is moving or if it's just the sun moving overhead, because it's the opposite, you see. Obviously, if you were spinning around, the sun is in a stationary place or out there, and the Earth is spinning around to give you the 24 hours of daylight, right?
Right.
The opposite effect would be the Earth is stationary and the sun is going overhead. And so it's a form of geocentricity versus heliocentricity. So you start reading and watching YouTube videos, and you start going out looking at things from a different perspective than you used to. And, your whole life, from the time you walk into kindergarten, you see a globe on the school teacher's desk, and you start learning about planets and spacemen and moon landings and just everything that has to do with heliocentrism, because that's the accepted generic model that everybody says it is. And so if you have a questioning mind, or if you have, a critical thinker, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to question everything. Typically, that would come in to someone who has questioned other things like 9/11 or the moon landings or, is the picture of Earth real or, who killed JFK, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one other conspiracy that you look into because it's interesting. And then you start finding out all of these things that start to kind of jar your indoctrinated belief, and you keep going and going until you debunk it. And if you can never debunk it, then you're a flat earther.
I'm sure that Sean made a good point in the beginning of this. I was saying that flat Earth is Sean is my co-host here. He tends to be quiet when the guest is on.
Hi.
I was saying that the only other really kind of controversial topic that we've really had on here was we had Jim Lansdale from Killing Bigfoot, and he wanted to kill Bigfoot, and Sean made a good point that this is all the more controversial because most people don't believe in Bigfoot and therefore don't have an opinion. But in this case, those who aren't flat earthers both sides seem to be pretty militant about what they believe. So how did your life react to you starting to come out saying, hey, I think the Earth is flat? Your family and your work and your friends.
Right. Well, let's just start with this. You pretty much get to the point where you go, I'm a flat earther because my joy in life is being hated and ridiculed by everyone. And no flat earther ever. Okay?
Oh, that makes sense.
I like that. That's pretty funny.
So, let's just say this. There's two kinds of flat earthers. Those that just do the research and, maybe join a group or stay within a flat earth discussion, people that, believe the same thing. And then there are those who go out and it's their damn duty, bar none, to change the world and make sure everybody knows the Earth is flat.
Yeah,
and
I've noticed that
there's not very many in between.
I've noticed that there are quite a few people on this topic who are, for lack of a better word, very combative about their belief in it.
Okay.
Like they're trying to preach the word, like they're trying to save us from ourselves, maybe, or something like that. It becomes
almost a religious dogma thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what happens. The first time you say to someone, hey, did you know the Earth is flat? And they look at you like, you've lost your mind, or you're punking them. You know, you're just trolling and you're trying to get them to, you know, engage, right?
Right.
So once that happens, the first time, you're going to get one or two reactions. People are either going to laugh at you or they're going to get really mad. And you have a hard time understanding, why are you so mad? I mean, it's like, where, show me on the doll where flat earth hurt you, okay? And
I love that. I'm going to totally use that for so many things moving forward. But go ahead, I'm listening.
Well, and you realize, what's making them so angry? And you realize that it's cognitive dissonance, okay? In other words, they've believed something their whole life and you just told them they were wrong. And their whole worldview would be changed in their mind if they suddenly realized the Earth was flat, for many reasons. They've been taught their whole lives it's a globe. They've been, you know, shown NASA footage of Mars, and we're out in space, and spacemen and astronauts and moon landings. They've been, you know, watched 1,000 movies about outer space and the whole 9 yards. And so space and flat Earth cannot go together.
Aside from the being mean part, you definitely just described to me. That's a big stumbling
block right there.
Aside from the being mean about it part.
Most people either laugh or get angry.
Yeah, aside from the being mean about it part, you definitely described to me, because that's always been my sort of, you know, stand away from the topic. Reason is because so many things that I love and that are part of my belief system, my core belief system, have to do with space, and I'm the guy who's watched 1,000 alien movies, you know, and you know, they have to do with space and loving that stuff. Yeah.
That, okay, let's just take them away from being in outer space, and let's just now make them extraterrestrials from over there. Okay? Mm-hmm. In other words, we have no idea how big it is. We have no idea whether there's portals or gates or, you know, ways for alien beings to come in and out of our world and our realm. I'm going to use the word realm. So to ask someone to give up on extraterrestrials or aliens is not necessary. Mm-hmm. To tell them that they didn't come from a galaxy far, far away is another story, because the realm has no outer space, okay? In other words, out there beyond is either ether or another realm next door, for example, some, who knows, parallel universe, or maybe Mars is over there. And perhaps they do have a way to come in here, and you know, because you can't disregard so many phenomenon that has occurred with beings from another realm. I'm just going to use that term.
Yeah.
You can't negate that.
Yeah, I get it. You're using realm because we don't necessarily know what to call it, so we're just giving it that term until we understand.
Sure, because the realm has no real definition except by whatever its supernatural or natural boundaries are.
Right. Okay, well, we're coming up on our first break here. So you are listening to our guest, Lori Frary, and we are talking about the Flat Earth Theory, and we are learning all that we can. So come on back. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and our guest, Lori Frary. Lori, so I have a whole list of questions that might be stupid. I don't know. So
there's no stupid question.
Oh, good. I'm off the
not in Flat Earth anyway.
Yeah,
let me preface that by saying that there is so much disinformation out there about Flat Earth that it's no wonder people are confused about it, get mad, don't understand it, don't understand why people would even think that in 2017 that the Earth is flat with, you know, all that's come before. So, you got to delve through all kinds of fake maps and fake models and speculation and all kinds of things. It really is a personal journey. So,
well, then I'll ask you the big question first while we have plenty of time.
Okay.
The big question is, why would they lie to us about it?
That's always the first question. Why would they lie?
Yeah.
And there's three things quickly that I can answer that with from my perspective. And the first one is control. Control is always why they lie. If you're in if you're in control of reality, then you're in control of most people. And the second is a way to hide, I guess, what you would call creation, whether it was an intelligent design versus evolution, Big Bang, blah, blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because all of these things are opposed to each other, there's a dichotomy here.
Mm-hmm.
But the main reason, in my opinion, is if you can control not only the belief system of people, and there are biblical flat earthers and non-biblical, both, okay, and everything in between. People who believe in God as the creator of all of this are going to be opposed to believing in evolution and Big Bang and all that stuff because it's opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can, I'll give you one example that's just glaring. $19 billion a year of tax dollars is given to NASA alone for space fakery. And $19 billion in 1 year, that's a lot of money. What are they doing with it? It's really kind of down to if the world is flat and this is all there is and all of that, it's almost like people would feel freer. People would feel more in control of their life rather than being a dot in the universe in a billion planets flying through space, and we're at the mercy of those who control the world. So that's my thought on it.
I see. So do flat earthers believe in other planets?
Of
or
course,
is that kind of
but
all?
They're not planets. They're not orbs.
They're also flat.
Well, it's not that they're flat. The best way that I could describe it would be, See, it always sounds crazy when you just come out and say it because it took you a long time to think about it, and then once you kind of got there, and then you look back at the past, you go, yeah, it probably does sound a little crazy. But if you go and look at the stars, have you ever seen stars twinkle?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever zoomed in on one with a P900?
I'm sorry.
It looks
ask
like
that again.
a dancing tetrahedron of light.
Right.
That's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Spinning and moving around. That's what it looks like. And so people who are biblical and look at it from a biblical standpoint say, okay, well, the stars are the angels and the planets are the ones that keep moving around that don't stay in their places. Okay? And so, there's all kinds of ways to look at it. But if you look at it from a purely, observation way, they're just not billions of miles away, and it's not taking millions of years for the light to get here. I've watched stars move around in the sky, and focus tightly on them with a camera and a video camera, and my God, it's like, that's a star? That's not at all what I thought it was.
So this view of other planets are that we believe that the lights that we're seeing are there, they're just not necessarily a planet.
Right. Okay, so my analogy would be this. If the Earth is flat, consider it the pool table. Do the balls on the table have to be flat too? No.
Right. No,
See, that's
I get
the problem.
that. Yeah.
Everybody associates because they think their ball's up there flying around, that we're a ball also.
Well,
so you have to be able to differentiate.
Part of the, science part that's hard to get past is that gravity is what's making the ball. I don't know.
Here's what starts to happen, all right?
I'm getting lost.
Once you go, you said gravity. See, flat earthers have already poo-pooed gravity. Gravity is bullshit.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean that.
That's all right.
Gravity has never been proven as anything more than a theory. Most people don't understand that it is still in theory form, all right?
Right.
There's no way to prove gravity. So gravity can easily be replaced with buoyancy and density. If you jump off the roof, you're going to splat on the ground because you weigh more than the air, right?
Right, sure.
That's got nothing to do with gravity.
Like we had a guest on who talked about that gravity. I'm not sure if he was saying there was no gravity, but he was saying that it was an electromagnetic universe?
I think it was the Nibiru guy talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Electromagnetism.
If you want to replace terms, see, here's what happens, okay? Once you become a flat earther, or once you start investigating it, then you start really getting into terms. People will laugh at you, but then you go, hey, dude, do you even know what latitude you live on? Like, I know more about the Earth itself and science from trying to debunk it than you probably know since you stopped learning when you were in the 6th grade about it, right?
Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. I always say that I'm the world's smartest 8th grader.
You've seen the man on the street videos where they go up and go, hey, do you know who Joe Biden is? And they go, I don't know, doesn't he sing with AC/DC?
Yeah, I have seen this.
Okay. So trying to argue with somebody about something, that's why I don't argue. I just introduce the topic, and I say, if you're interested at all, go look into it. If you're not, then your life won't change. You'll still get up and go to work tomorrow. The difference today is people say, don't you even science, dude? And then you go, of course I science. What are you talking about? They have given us so many tools to play with now. Cameras and zoom lenses and so much technology that what's happened is people have turned around and used it to do whatever they want with it. So what happened is, and this is also my opinion and the opinion of many flat earthers, is that flat earth was totally rolled out as a psyop so that people would look into it, find it silly, find it stupid, not spend that much effort on it, and then walk away, and that's the end of that. The other people would get very involved, and then they would follow these gurus on YouTube, and they would listen to their whole spiel about, and the sun goes in this circle, on this circle map, and what holds the water in? Oh, it's an ice wall around the outside. And you go, what? What are they even saying? This is not what everybody believes, but because there's these gurus on YouTube who are spouting this stuff over and over, it becomes a form of cult washing, okay, like brainwashing, cult washing, and they create this dogma that everybody's supposed to believe in, and then if you go, no, I'm sorry, that's not right, then they start fighting amongst each other, okay? I'm one of the ostracized flat earthers because I questioned the flat earth model. And so that's why I've been doing podcasting for the last couple of years, is because, wait a minute, you guys know the earth is flat for these reasons. There's no curvature, we're not spinning, so on and so forth. But why do you believe in that stupid map and model that some old guy created 100, 200 years ago or whatever, of the sun going around in a circle like a freaking flashlight, and this ice wall around there? What is it now, on the back of a turtle too? You guys buying into that story also? So you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
There are those who question even the model that other people have embraced.
Well, let me cut you off right at that point because we're about to go to our next commercial break. You're listening to Lori Frary here on Radio Wasteland, and we are discussing Flat Earth. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland and our guest, Lori Frary, and we're talking about flat Earth. So, Lori, I got a question here. I'm guessing that nobody knows the answer to this, but this is one of my questions, my flat Earth questions. What's on the other side?
What's on the other side of flat Earth? What do you mean, above, below, sideways?
Well, I mean, if we're on a disc, is there
Not a disc.
Oh.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's not a disc.
It's a plane. Is that?
It's a realm.
Right.
And when you consider what a realm is, okay, outside of the realm, you wouldn't have any way of knowing. People have biblical references to what's outside of the realm, but in my opinion, ether is outside of the realm, which is why we had, Einstein in his relativity and then the arguments with, back and forth as how do you measure, and, people will believe in quarks and black holes, that you talk about flat Earth in a realm, and then they go, what? So you can't see any of that. You can't observe it. So how would you be able to answer the question? But I believe, do you know what a tetrahedron is?
Yes.
Okay. So let's just consider every plane inside the tetrahedron, or the, hexagramophone, whatever some of those really
I get what you're
ones.
saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a sphere made out of flat planes.
Okay. So what would be on any of the other layers of the plane or realm, you wouldn't have any way of knowing. Now, one of the things that I think is a possibility as to why they hide the flat Earth is because there is more to the realm out there, and possibly, if you have a different density, you could go through this portal. I mean, what is the Stargate concept and all of that? Do you see what I'm saying? And you may go into an alternate universe or a parallel plane, or I don't know, but most flat earthers have serious speculation about the Arctic and the Antarctic, because they would be the ends of the realm. East and west, you can go until you come back to where you started, sort of. And I get in trouble because I use this word because people get flipped out, but I use the word Pac-Man. All right, if you were going east and
like if you go far enough to the left, you end up at the right, but more on a portal level and less on a spherical level.
Right. More of a time, it's either time continuing or it even could be like a wallpaper effect, like a repeat pattern on a wallpaper. I don't know.
I see.
That's the problem. Once you start speculating, you sort of start to lose people. It's sort of an internal thing, or something that you talk about with other abstract thinkers, not concrete ones.
So your use of the word realm and stuff like that makes me think that some of your belief in this situation has a bit of maybe a Nordic, like a Norse belief in the universe, where there are multiple realms. Is this? Are you familiar with this?
I would say okay. I could understand why you would
Except
think
that's
that,
a tree.
and that's okay. It's not wrong. I just don't have a problem with supernatural. See, most people can't wrap their mind around something supernatural. They get all weird because they only understand natural law. Natural law is just that which has been explained to us by scientists, right?
Right.
So that means they tested it, or they came up with a theory or a hypothesis about it. It could be some reverse engineered ad hoc theory for all we know, because until something can be observed, tested, and repeated and come out the same way that every time, it's really just speculation. So that's why I'm a little different than a lot of flat earthers, is because I've kept my mind open the whole time. I don't have a problem with not knowing. And most people need to fill in the blank because they were taught an entire system from the time they were in school, the globe, the universe, they have names for everything. Everything's a system, right?
Right.
And so once you start to break down the system, most people need to fill that with something, which is why when you go on the Flat Earth Society, if you go research Flat Earth, just type it into Google, the first thing you're going to come to is the Flat Earth Society and all of its rubbish and disinfo. It literally is a disinformation agency. And so you start reading things like, there's no gravity. The Earth rises up at 9 inches per minute or something to make up for gravity. And you just go, what? 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 So it's like that, all right? That's the level of disinfo that you have to go through. Most people just listen to some other guru who talks smoothly and has a good shtick and comes up with what they think it all is, and then people just go, oh, well, that sounds pretty good. That resonates with me, they'll say.
Well, one of the topics
okay.
One of the topics that comes up on a regular basis, as in my adventures across the internet, as I come to Flat Earth, is this concept of a prison planet. Is this something from what you've been saying, I'm guessing this is not something that you subscribe to.
Not something that I espouse to. There is a well-known flat earther his name is Mark Sargent, and he came up with what is called the Flat Earth Clues, and he came up with this idea that we live in an enclosed world like the Truman Show, and everything is like almost like a game, like a video game. It's
kind of a Matrix
his
thing.
own speculation, okay? It's his own speculation. And so, but a lot of people, the first time they hear about Flat Earth, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to YouTube and they're going to look for the most watched videos, right?
Right.
And that's typically what we do to try to learn and get up to speed. Well, the most watched videos are more often than not disinformation.
Well, that would make sense. I don't know who said it, but they said that the best way to win the revolution is to start it.
Yep. And if you want to control it, put people in control to control it from the beginning. And we all have heard of gatekeepers and gaslighters, and people know that Alex Jones was the one who started talking about 9/11 being an inside job, and part of what he put out there was true, but then a whole bunch of other crap came in that isn't true or that is speculation. And but people are it's a culture, it's society. People want to become a part of a movement. They want to be in a community. You find that across the board with every conspiracy theory, every belief system out there. And so it's a thing about belonging. And so you just, you go with the flow. And I've had people tell me, why are you attacking the Flat Earth map? And why are you attacking the Flat Earth model? Can't we just all get along? And can't we just take down the bad guys and expose the lie without the inside fighting? Well, no, I'm sorry. I can't let you guys just keep putting a false map out there and a false model out there that I know is false. And you keep putting it in your videos, and you've got it on your profile pictures on Facebook, and it's everywhere, and it's false. So I can't be quiet about that.
Well, unfortunately, we're coming up on the end of the show here. Can you tell our listeners where they can find out more about you and find out more about what you're telling us?
Sure. I have a website called FlatEarthConspiracy.com. I have a Facebook page called FlatEarthConspiracy.com. And I have a YouTube channel called Flat Earth Conspiracy, not .com, just Flat Earth Conspiracy.
Wow.
And
I appreciate
we do
your branding
and YouTube videos and just keep talking about it and keep the discussion going and see what it turns into. Sooner or later, we're going to discover that everybody's going to realize the Earth is flat.
Well, we really appreciate having you on the show. I feel like I know a bit more about this topic. Like I said, I knew very little about it. And thank you very much for being on the show.
We barely touched the surface, so if you ever want to talk about it again, give me a shout out, and I'll be happy to come and answer more questions.
I guarantee you I will. You've been listening to Lori Frary on Radio Wasteland. Thanks for checking us out. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. You've been listening to our guest, Lori Frary, about Flat Earth. So, Sean, are you convinced?
No.
No. You're not a flat earther.
No. I mean, but that wasn't my bar for this show. My bar was, will I be convinced to go find out more?
Okay, well then let me ask you that question. Are you convinced to go find out more?
No.
What? Why do you have to set that one up and then knock that down? That was
Well, I was being truthful. That's what I had set up beforehand, because I knew there wasn't enough time in an hour to go through every possible objection I might have.
right.
You know, I just wanted maybe to see if, you know, there was a moment where I thought, oh, maybe there's something to this. Maybe I want to find out more about this.
Well, she was well versed enough in her explanation of what people's problem is with flat Earth to
Sure, yeah,
hit me on the head.
Yeah,
you know.
I think that was very astute.
It was astute because, you know, it's my same apprehension to moon conspiracies. You know, a large part of my own imagination religion. You know, I don't really have a religion. My religion is my imagination and what I think is possible, and all this cool things that are possible. This one is so contrary to so many of the ones that I have in my brain as being those great driving imaginary things for me.
Yeah. I thought what she was saying and the reaction she got, that made a lot of sense, but I guess I saw it somewhat differently. I guess what I would say is everything I believe pretty much depends on my trust in other people. Because it's not like I've gone out and gathered experimental evidence on pretty much any topic. That would be a crazy way to live, really. You know, you'd have to spend years verifying literally everything.
Well, yeah, but, you know, on a social evolutionary level, the only reason why, you know, a lot of people kind of have this attitude like, hey, we're so smart, and old, you know, people back in the day that believed in flat Earth, well, they were so dumb. But the fact of the matter is, you're talking into this microphone right now, and neither of us really probably have a huge grasp on how this microphone works.
No, absolutely not.
Especially if it's a condenser microphone, which I assume that it is.
But. So that's kind of my point. I feel like if you're a flat earther, you're taking upon yourself the tremendous burden of replacing the entire body of human knowledge with what you can figure out in your life.
Right. It must be exhausting to put a question mark on absolutely everything because, you know, right now our president is Donald Trump, and I have never met him. And so all I've ever seen is TV.
Yeah.
And so
is he a real person?
He might not be a real guy.
Is he 20 different actors with one hideous wig?
Yes.
I couldn't help myself.
What is that?
I don't know. It's my dark impulses flaring up.
You're such a negative millennial.
I am a negative millennial.
Totally. Yeah. Well, we'd get you fixed if we could afford the health care. But yeah, you know, so the idea, you're right, that if we're questioning absolutely everything, and if each generation is starting from the beginning,
yeah,
where will we ever get anywhere? But on the flip side of that, there are things that we think were true that ended up not being true, and that we
that's
believed.
Absolutely correct.
You know, a prime example would be a geocentric. You know, take it from the other side. You know, there was a time where people were skinned and hanged for thinking the world was heliocentric.
Okay, well, my response on that would be we only really had an empirical system of scientific. We only had the scientific process since approximately the 1600s.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's fair to say, yeah, we're overturning the stuff before that, because the stuff before that, a lot of that was sort of a quasi-scientific process, but the idea of you have a testable hypothesis, you set up an experiment, you prove or don't prove. The word for that is escaping me.
Disprove.
Disprove, thank you. Oh my goodness. I'm an English major, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you have your English degree. You're not an English major. You already did that.
Yeah, well, that's true.
And now you're losing it.
Yeah, clearly. 2 years out of college, and it's all gone. At this rate, 10 years from now, I'll just be pointing and grunting. That'll be it. No, what was I saying?
Just basically, we were talking about people getting killed and skinned for the heliocentric attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm saying most of the ideas we've had for most of human history were thought for a good reason, but are empirically suspect.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Until approximately the 1600s.
You know, one thing that really kind of amazes me about, it seems in the last, I'm quite a bit older than you, Sean.
That's true.
In fact, how old are you?
I am 24.
I could be your daddy.
Okay, let's move on. But
in several ways, Sean, I could be your daddy. No,
okay.
In the past 10 years, this, you know, it's funny that Kellyanne Conway put this term of alternative facts on things. But in the past 10 years, it seems like, okay, global warming. Okay, there's no global warming. Okay, there were no dinosaurs. They were put here to... It seems like practically everything has become suspect, and nothing is believable at this point.
Yeah? Yeah, well, I think... you know, it's funny, but the guest we talked to had a lot of trouble believing, you know, in stars, but not a lot of trouble believing in UFOs.
Yeah, that's true.
So
but she was very observational, and maybe she's seen
she
UFOs.
Was.
And,
yeah.
You know.
I guess my point is, when it is fashionable to question everything, you might naturally tend towards... If the source where you're getting information is already other conspiracy theorists, then that's where you're going to get your information.
Right.
You know, it's... You're getting it from mainstream sources or you're not. Yeah.
Well, one of two things I think is probably going on here is that people are devolving. We're devolving into less intelligent beings.
Okay.
Which, you know, I know that sounds insulting, but I'm just saying that that's one of the two options. The other option is that we have reason to believe that we've been lied to by everybody about everything.
I think I would go with option C.
And what is that?
Human beings were never really meant to figure things out. We were meant to survive. And so consequently, our faculties for divining the truth of the universe are suspect at best, even though we are the most intelligent animal on the planet.
Yeah.
I think the majority of... I think even for human beings who are smart, thinking empirically is not natural. You know, it's hard to do, and it's easy to screw up. Yeah. And for most of human history, we didn't do it.
Yeah, and we do have tons of bias. You know, I'm always thinking, you know, I'm a firm believer in evolution. I'm sure you don't find that all that shocking. And, you know, people constantly have this concept of evolution as going from bad to great. That we're going from being stupid to genius. And that's really not what evolution does. No. What evolution does is it exploits a loophole for resources.
Just,
you know, and
survive at any point in which you exist.
So, you know, I don't know. But, you know, just to clarify, I'm not saying that people are getting stupid, but I was illustrating the fact that I do think that we have been given a lot of reason to not trust or believe a lot of the things that people have been telling us, because Well, even our own government. You know, people are constantly saying, well, I'm on the left and I'm on the right and blah, blah, blah. But if you watch the news, our government is constantly coming out and apologizing for what it did and lied to us about 50 years ago. It's like every year they have something 50 years ago that they did.
Oh, I think that's very true. Trust in the media and in the government is at an all-time low, and I think they both deserve that, probably. And I think people's reaction has often been, okay, let's listen to the craziest wingnut we can find, which I don't think is a great idea either. I think that's counterproductive. Right. I think we should just, say let's get some more rigorous journalism.
But she had a really good point about the really good point about, I don't know what she had a good point about. I lost track of what I was saying.
Well, in any case, I did think she was very reasonable. I think she's clearly thought a lot about it. So,
I think so too, and I would love to have her on as a guest. Yeah. It's just a topic, and
I don't want to besmirch her in any way.
No, yeah, absolutely not. I like to think of us as a borderline entertainment and journalism. I am not interested in fighting or being rude or any of those things. So I really enjoyed learning about her. You've been listening to Radio Wasteland, and when we come back, we got the news. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland, and it's time for the news. Sean, what you got for us?
That's right. Well, it's interesting because I've got a story that deviates from the typical stories I find in several ways. First of all, I came across it just not while trying to find a story for the show, but just randomly on my own initiative. Second,
while surfing the web.
Yes.
All right.
Second, usually when I have a story, it's from the past week. So, chances are it's a couple days old. Fresh, but not super fresh. This story is happening right now. I heard about it yesterday, and when I got up this morning and checked on it, there were new developments. So it's actually like if you search, for this topic in news and all that, it'll pop right up. And third, it's kind of sad.
All right, that's enough vagueness. What is this topic?
All right, so this is the first time that vampires have shown up in the news.
In the real news?
In the real news, yeah. So here's why it's sad. 8 people in Malawi have been killed by mobs for being vampires.
Really?
Yes. And approximately 140 people have been arrested for being parts of these mobs.
For being the killer mobs?
Yes, exactly.
So the government is not arresting people for being vampires?
No, the government is not arresting people for being vampires. It is trying to crack down on this whole situation, which seems to have emerged pretty much from nowhere. I've been reading into this, and the sources are more or less clear that they don't know how this started. One of them suggested that it possibly was sort of brought over from Mozambique, which is a neighboring country where they also have some of this superstition. Another, though this was the Daily Mail, was much more specific and said that it was a reaction to foreign aid workers with stethoscopes, and that the locals believed that they were using the stethoscopes to suck blood out of people.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if that's...
How
the other news sources seem to cast doubt on that.
How primitive of a culture are we dealing with in Malawi if they think that this is going on?
Well, they have the internet. They have, mass media. They are one of the poorest countries in the world. They have killed people for witchcraft before. Right. In fact, witchcraft is a very common practice there. One of the suspected vampires was killed because he was trying to obtain blood for a ritual. It sounds like... I haven't been able to figure out who exactly the victims were, because that hasn't been released. One of them, I think it said, was an epileptic monk. So...
God, I'm sorry to laugh at that, but
it
seems a little...
Well,
I don't know. An epileptic monk, it seems a little made up. Are you making this up?
I'm not making it up. as far as I understand, in similar incidences, whether hunting witches or vampires or whatever, throughout history, the victims have generally been people who are outside of the norm in some way.
Right, yeah. And it's been mainly caused by ergot?
Well, I don't know about that.
Isn't that what they suspected might have been the cause of the Salem witch trials?
Really? I didn't actually know that. I've heard it might have been the cause of a couple of mass hysteria incidents.
Yeah.
But,
one of their thoughts was that the crop that year had gotten ergot
had
on
molded,
the corn.
yeah.
And yeah.
Oh.
But, one thing that weirds me out about this topic is vampires. Witchcraft, I would say, okay, well, religion, blah,
right.
blah, blah. Vampire seems like such a modern concept to apply to an epileptic monk.
Well, vampires aren't modern at all. I mean, as we've discussed on the show before, they go back to the beginning of civilization, the beginning of writing, and probably before.
Right. So maybe the term vampire is being put on by us as a translation, but to them it's...
No, it is vampires, but I don't know if they use the word. I don't know if that's the word for it. I think it is true that all these separate vampire myths, because Africa has its own vampire myths, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it has since as long as every other continent.
The dawn of time.
That's what I was trying to say, but my voice isn't deep enough.
Oh.
I think, as the world has become more globalized, probably these myths have been lumped together into one Draculized form. But
I saw what you did there with the Draculized.
Okay, good.
All right, so what do you think, listeners? Do you think the Earth is flat and populated with Malawian vampires?
That's the question.
That is the question. You've been listening to Radio Wasteland. Thanks for checking us out.